Hi everyone, I'm Joseph Khateri, a realtor in the state of Virginia, and I know it's been a while, but I am back making videos with a huge announcement. So first off, by the time I upload this, I'll have passed 5,000 subscribers, and in fact, I think we already did, but the bigger piece of news is that I bought a house. That's where most of my focus has been the past few months. I bought it back in mid-July, had to do a bunch of rehab with my parents. That alone took almost 2 months. I moved here in September, and since then, I've just been making my own. And guess what? I practice what I preach. That's how you know I'm legit. I live in the lower level and rented out all the bedrooms upstairs. So I am house hacking. Anyways, today we're tackling a super important part of the Section 8 process, which is step number 2 in the series, forming your corporations and LLCs. Now, just a quick disclaimer before we jump in. I am not a CPA. I am not an attorney. I am not a tax professional. I am just a realtor who has done this process before and is here to give you some guidance. Make sure to actually consult with a CPA or tax professional if you have any questions. That being said, forming an LLC is one of the smartest choices you can make when dealing with rental properties. It can give you some serious protections, tax benefits, and the ability to even grow your investments faster. So let's go to step 1, which is why do you even need an LLC in the first place? First thing we should talk about is asset protection. Now picture this. You have a rental property, you have a tenant in there. It's snowing, it's winter, roads are icy, they end up slipping on your porch and suing the hell out of you. What do you do in this scenario? Well, guess what? If the home was under my own name, Joseph Khateri, they could sue me in court and they could go after my personal assets. They could go after my car. They could go after my cat. That TV you see in the background, they could go after it all because it's all in my personal name. But when you own the property through an LLC specifically, they can only go after the assets of the LLC itself. And guess what? This LLC should only really be housing your home in the first place. So they can only go after the rental property itself, nothing else. This is called limited liability. Get it? Limited Liability Corporation, LLC. And next up, let's talk about taxes here. An LLC has some major tax advantages. Let's go through them really quick. So you'll be able to enjoy something called a pass-through taxation, which means that the profits and losses from the LLC go directly onto your personal tax return. This can simplify things for your accountant and yourself if you're filing solo, and can give you less of a tax burden sometimes. Plus, deductions, and that's one of the major things here. You can deduct anything that is a qualified business expense. Now let me give you some examples of what qualifies as deductions. Legit deductions, we're not trying to screw with the IRS here. They will go after your soul. Okay, some examples. Office supplies in order to maintain your LLC. LLC fees and registrations. The accountant in order to file your LLC taxes. Any home improvements you make, you need to buy a new roof for the home, that counts as a deduction. And also a last point, this one's very subtle, but I feel like you're treated more professionally and more respectfully if you have an LLC in your name and are doing everything on behalf of an LLC. I feel like contractors and, tax professionals, realtors, they see the LLC and they know you're talking business. They know you are serious. By the way, if you're enjoying this content that I make completely for free, I've got a lot more videos like this on my channel, so hit subscribe and then go to my channel and binge watch the hell out of it. And if you're ready to start investing, go ahead and click the description. There's going to be a Google form link. Go ahead and click on that and fill it out for me. My assistant Percy will text your phone number and set a meeting up between us, or you can just directly book a consult down below. And this doesn't just apply to investors. Anyone that wants to buy or sell a home, hit me up. Alright, section 2 is going to be using DSCR loans with the LLC. For those that don't know, a DSCR loan is a debt service coverage ratio loan. That's a mouthful to say, but it's essentially an investment loan. You can close under an LLC. They don't look at your tax returns. They don't look at your pay stubs. Nothing income related is checked. All they check is your credit score, a bank statement to prove that you have the cash, which is 20% down payments, a form of ID to prove you're a citizen. And they also do non-citizen loans, by the way, for my foreign investors. You can go as low as a $75K purchase price. And again, the way I'm tying this all together right now is that you can use an LLC to close. Most conventional loans will require 2 years of business tax returns, which new LLCs don't have. So that's why I like DSCR so much. Now granted, why doesn't everyone just use this? Well, it's because it's about a 1.5% higher interest rate, but that's worth it to a lot of my investors. So if you are interested in DSCR loans using an LLC, again, go ahead, click the links down below, book a consult with me if you have some questions, or fill out the Google form so my assistant can text your number directly. Okay, now that you understand why an LLC is valuable, let's talk about how to actually set up an LLC. It's actually an extremely straightforward process, and it infuriates me when I see people hire these companies like LegalZoom in order to do it for them. There are only two scenarios that should happen. You either do it yourself on the state website, which I'm about to show you, or you simply ask your CPA to do it for whatever hourly fee they're going to charge. Okay, so the first step, and I have to like bend down in order to do this, is to look up your state. I'm gonna do Virginia just because I'm in Virginia. Virginia LLC formation. And you're probably going to get sent to a website like this. This is the SEC for Virginia. And would you look at that, we barely scroll down and under the business section, create a new business. So as you can see, I do have an account. It'll be mostly blacked out, but let's assume you don't have one. You're gonna go ahead and register for an account, and that'll bring you to this type of dashboard. I'm gonna go ahead and go to online services, new businesses. And again, every state is going to be different. I'm just showing you Virginia's, but most states have something similar to this. And honestly, I'm sure if you just ask ChatGPT, it probably would be able to tell you exactly how to do it for your own state. So I'm filing Virginia entity. It is going to be a limited liability company. The filing type is going to be an articles of organization, which is completely normal. Do I have a name reserved? No. So I'm going to end up making up a name. So let's say Joseph Khateri Real Estate. And the part that I actually spent 20 minutes on when I first formed my first LLC, if you'll go ahead and check availability, it'll always say this won't work. Name not allowable. So I kept thinking, oh, it must be taken. So I spent 20 minutes making up different variations until I finally realized it has to end in the words LLC. And then, wow, it'll work. I know it's a little bit silly to not realize that, I guess, but I did actually get stuck on this the first time. You know, I was a new 18-year-old, you can't blame me. So for the entity email address, I recommend having your own business email because it's good to keep that stuff separate. You know, you want to have a business email to, talk with the realtors, talk with contractors, purchases, entity information. Now, a good way to do this is simply just make a new Gmail account that's your LLC name. That's a fantastic way to do it, or just your name business, in case you end up making 10 LLCs. What I personally do is I went on Squarespace. I ended up actually buying my own domain. And you can go ahead and just buy it through here. You'll be able to set up a business email account. There are tons of videos out there like that. But that is also why I have my own website. If you go to jkhaterirealtor.com, it'll bring you to my website. For contact number, you can just use your personal phone number for this. Industry code, you're gonna do regular, or general, sorry. It is going to be forever, perpetual, and you're gonna click next. All right, now for registered agent. If you have a CPA, you can usually put them down. Make sure to ask them first. For all of my Virginia LLCs, I wrote down my own CPA because I got his permission. And there are a few circumstances that are going to happen. You can either select an individual registered agent, and in this case, you could put yourself as the main person. However, some states, and I believe Ohio is one of these because we have an Ohio LLC as well, where you couldn't do this. You had to specifically list a business to write down. And in this case, you can simply Google Virginia registered agents, and you'll end up finding websites like this, where you can pay $49 a year and you can just list them as a registered agent. And now you're gonna go ahead and put down your principal office address, your own home usually, unless your HOA denies it for whatever reason. It is going to be a manager managed structure. I usually skip any type of documentation. Signature information, you're just gonna type your name. But now we're on the last step. So all you're gonna do is add it to your shopping cart and then purchase it. In this case, this costs $100 and then I believe a $50 a year renewal fee. After you purchase everything, you're going to get an email containing stuff like your articles of organization, receipts. And once you have that info, it's time for the second step of this, obtaining an EIN. Again, all you're gonna do is just Google EIN. You're gonna get sent to this IRS website, and you can usually do it online. For whatever reason, if this online does not work, you're going to end up having to fill out the form manually and faxing it to them over the phone, which is super annoying and it takes several weeks. I've done that before. But for 90% of you, the online form will work. So you're going to click apply online now. It is going to bring you to this, and this is an example. It literally happened live. An exact example of you probably having to fill it out and then fax it to them. Seems like I got unlucky with the 10% there. But you're gonna go through this portal normally. It is going to ask for the LLC information that you just did. For example, who's the registered agent? Who's the owner? What's the principal office address? Information like that you already just filled out. And then you're going to eventually get a form called an SS4 form. It's going to look something like this, where it's going to display your LLC name as well as your employer identification number. And the last thing that you want to do once you have those two pieces of information, and we're almost done here, is going to be setting up a business bank account. Because guess what? You need one. Why do you need one? Pretty important thing to know here is that your LLC can be broken into. I believe it's called piercing the veil, if I remember correctly. But essentially, if you're mixing funds between your personal account and business operations, then in court, a lot of lawyers will be able to pierce that and simply say, hey, this LLC means nothing because you're mixing your funds. We can go after your personal assets too. That's no good. Obviously, you want to have a clear divide between your business and personal. Hence, having a business bank account in the LLC's name. How do you do this though? What kind of bank account do you use? Well, I noticed something that really sucks with LLCs, and it's that you typically don't have a whole lot of money in the account because again, it's really just a pass-through entity, and most business bank accounts will have minimum fees and minimum deposited amounts, or else they're gonna charge you like 12 bucks a month. So what do you do? Well, that's why I use Amex. I use their business checking account. It's called the Amex Blue Business, something like that. And hey, fun fact, if you keep $5,000 in there and have a few transactions, they'll give you 30,000 points, which I have taken advantage of every single time. But it's great because it has no monthly fees, no monthly minimums, really good 24/7 support, and anything that you are just letting sit there, it's not just earning 0% interest like most bank accounts, it's earning 1.3. A high yield savings account is still better, but at least this is something, for your business account. You also can do mobile check deposits, and the limits are really high. I believe it's like, don't quote me on this, I think it's like $40,000 is your daily limit, but it's what I use. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. I'm too small of a channel to be sponsored, but it's just what I use because, if I'm being honest, the main reason is because there's no monthly minimums. These LLCs aren't really holding a bunch of cash. But this isn't the only one. There are a few different bank accounts that, again, don't have monthly minimums. For example, if we simply just Google no monthly fee business checking, usually NerdWallet posts their best choices for the month. And here we found it just now, November 2024, Blue Vine, Amex, Grasshopper, US Bank, etc., etc. Now let's move on to the next section, what to look out for. One of the biggest things, again, is not mixing your personal and business funds because they're going to be able to pierce the corporate veil. You're going to risk losing your LLC's legal protection if you decide to mix things together. Here's an example. If you end up transferring money from one LLC to another, that is mixing funds. Instead, in that scenario, I would transfer it to my personal account and then personal to LLC. Another great tip is to not miss your annual fees. There's a $50 a month fee, as well as, that registered agent would be another $50. And the last tip I'll give, do not screw with the IRS. Please, I am begging you. The IRS is not a force to be beckoned with. There's a reason why the huge, biggest criminals go down for tax evasion. It's because the IRS do not mess around. Keep your personal and business separate. Keep a really good log of all your business expenses. Keep all your receipts. I recommend logging all your receipts at minimum once a month. Keep it in a nice little, Excel spreadsheet or a QuickBooks program. And then hire a CPA to do your taxes for you. They'll be able to give you the best deductions, and I personally think a few $100 for a CPA usually saves me a few thousand at the end of the year. And again, if you have any questions about any of this, ask a CPA. I'm just a realtor who happens to know this stuff. And that's everything. So by the end of this video, as this is part 2 in the series, you should have picked out a city and formed an LLC in whatever state you ended up picking. You should now have an EIN, as well as a business bank account to keep things separate. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and look at my other videos on my channel, as well as the rest in this series. And again, I'm a realtor. I work off of referrals. If you want to meet with me, book a meeting with me. The link is down in the description, direct link to my Calendly. If you have any questions or want to work with me, become a client of mine. Or if you don't want to book a consult or just have some questions first, go ahead and click the Google form, fill it out, and my assistant will directly text your number to coordinate things. Or you can DM me on Instagram or through my Facebook business page as well. And I know it seems a little weird that you can't just directly call me or directly text me. There's a reason for this. It's because I have grown to a point on my social media where if I did that, I would get several thousand texts that I would have to go through, and I don't think that's really fair to you guys giving such one word or crappy answers. I would rather give you guys the dedication you deserve. So that's why there's kind of this automated process until you can, consult with me, talk to me, etc. Anyways, as always, I'm Joseph Khateri, realtor in the state of Virginia. Have a nice day.